Afwan?
Last 15 minutes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All right, let's move forward to the next hadith, inshallah ta'ala.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa bisanadi ila Imam Bukhari wa rahimahullahu ta'ala. قال باب وقت المغرب. قال حدثنا بكي بن ابراهيم قال حدثنا يزيد بن ابي عبيد عن سلمة قال كنا نصلي مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المغرب اذا تواترت بالحجاب.
إذا توارت.
أحسن الله عليك. إذا توارت بالحجاب.
Right. The next hadith is the fourth hadith of the book with the same chain of narration. Maki ibn Ibrahim, Yazid ibn Abi Ubaid, Salama ibn al-Aqwa. Same chain. So you memorize one chain, you memorize four mutun. And it is Babu Waqt al-Maghrib, the time of the Maghrib prayer. I.e., Imam al-Bukhari's book is a book of fiqh and hadith and fiqh. It's a book in which he's trying to explain and expound upon and present rulings. I can. Okay, instead of just narrating the hadiths. Salama narrated, we used to pray the Maghrib prayer with the Prophet ﷺ when the sun disappeared from the horizon. I.e., Salat al-Maghrib is when the sun sets and that's it. And it isn't a condition that the sky has to be totally dark. And it is not a condition that it's absolute darkness when you make Salat al-Maghrib. And the same applies to breaking one's fast. إِذَا تَوَارَتْ, when it's going, خلاص, time for Maghrib. As it states in other hadith with regards to people, if a man shot an arrow, or if a man threw a spear, he would see where it would land. So Maghrib time is not when the sky is pitch black dark. Breaking the fast is not when it's pitch black dark. But of course, we rely today on the taqweem. We rely on the calendar. We rely on the calculation. And that's a long discussion with regards to the calculation, the prayer schedule, the app on your phone or your tablet or your device. Instead of actually going outside and looking and using the way that the Prophet ﷺ told us to look. And of course, it's a very long discussion and argument concerning using the calendar, using the calculation for fasting. Can we begin the month of Ramadan with the calculation? And can we end the month of Ramadan with calculation? Of course, you're going to say no. I'm going to say no. The people are going to say no. But then في نفس الوقت يعتمدون على الحساب الفلكي فيما هو أهم من الصيام وهو الصلاة. So there's a bit of, when the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he never ever told us to use the calendar or the moon or the stars or the days, the calculation for the prayer times. وقت المغرب إلى كذا. وقت العصر إلى وكان الظل. He told us to use the physical signs. Alright, tight. Next hadith, inshallah ta'ala, leaving Kitab al-Salah, Kitab al-Sawm, the book of fasting.
أحسن الله إليك. كتاب الصوم. قال باب إذا نوى بالنهار صوما. قال حدثنا أبو عاصم عن يزيد بن أبي عبيد عن سلمة بن الأكوع رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعث رجلا ينادي في الناس يوم عاشوراء إن من أكل فليتم أو فليصم ومن لم يأكل فلا يأكل.
Right. The next Kitab al-Sawm, i.e. from that one point in Salat al-Maghrib all the way up into the book of fasting, there was no Thulathi hadith. And the next part in which there was any Thulathi hadith is Kitab al-Sawm. Okay. Babun إذا نوى بالنهار صوما. When a person intends to fast and it's already late. I.e., can a person make voluntary fasts after they've already prayed Fajr? The sun has already risen, but they didn't eat, drink, or have intercourse. Is it lawful for me at 11 a.m. to say, let me fast today? Whether I intend to fast today or, for argument's sake, there's no food, so I might as well fast. Is that lawful? Can you make the intention for the nafila fast during the daytime, or is it a must that you have the intention at night before Fajr? That's the fiqh of that chapter. Salama ibn al-Aqwa, same companion, but with a different route. So there are two narrators besides Makki and Yazid between Bukhari and Salama. Alright. Inshallah, we'll do a brief demonstration, inshallah, before we stop and get into the Q&A. And I am going to need for 3 brothers, inshallah, 3 volunteers to come to the stage. 3 volunteers. Volunteers, I say. I'm not going to call your names unless no one volunteers. 3 volunteers, inshallah. 3 brothers to come to the stage. 1, 2, who else? I need 1 more. Tayyib, Jazakallah khairan. And I need a 4th brother. I need 4 brothers. Bismillah. To the stage. 1 brother has to have a book and a pen. A pen and a book. See the now and never. Volunteers to come to the stage. You volunteer or you don't? That's 1, 2, come. Anybody else? I need 2 more. Bismillah, Jazakallah khairan. To the stage, all the way up. You got a pen? You have a pen? All right, good. All right, perfect. So, you want to stand with the book all the way on the end, please? All the way on the end of the stage, as close as far as you can get from me. Matter of fact, you can get down from the stage. You can get down from the stage. You stay right there, all right? Perfect. All right, you give some space, please. You stay there. A little more space. Come from behind me, please. Is that okay? A little more space? A little more space? All right, perfect. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. For argument's sake, pay attention now. I'm sitting down. They're standing up. 1, 2, 3, 4. You tell us your name? Abdullah. You tell us your name? Harun. You tell us your name? Abdurrahim. And you tell us your name?
Hisham.
Hisham. MashaAllah. So we have Abdullah, Harun, Ibrahim, Abdurrahim, and Hisham. Alright, Abdullah is the hadith compiler. He's Bukhari. He's going to write down the hadiths. He's recording the hadiths. Now, Harun would be the teacher of who? Of Bukhari. Abdurrahim is the teacher of Harun, the teacher of the Tabi'i. And then Hisham would be the Sahabi. He would be the what? Sahabi, and I would represent the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Imam al-Bukhari, Abdullah, he says, Hadathana Makki ibn Ibrahim. Harun is Makki. The chain of narration, you're reading it backwards. Bukhari is telling you what he got from his teachers. Makki ibn Ibrahim told us, one day Abdullah was a student. He's a sheikh today. He wrote a book, but he was once a disciple. He was sitting down, and this teacher, Makki ibn Ibrahim, Harun, told his students. And he opened up your book. He recorded what he got from his teacher. He memorized it, and he also wrote it down. Everybody clear on this? So, Makki ibn Ibrahim narrated from Yazid ibn Abi Ubayd, who's Abdurrahim. Yazid ibn Abi Ubayd narrates from Salama ibn Sahabi. The Prophet ﷺ said. Everybody clear on this? So, simple narration, I say it is 5:59 according to my pocket watch. 5:59 according to my pocket watch. That's the narration I give to you, my student. You're now going to pass it on to your student. Pass it on. What I just told you, that is 5:59 according to
Your clock?
pocket watch,
Pocket watch?
not clock.
Okay.
And precision.
It's 5.
Dhabt.
According to
5:55 or 5:59?
5:59.
5:59 That's the truth. According to, well, who did you get it from? Who told you it's 5:59?
The Mufti stopwatch.
Stopwatch or pocket watch?
Pocket watch.
Which one? Clock, pocket watch, or a stopwatch?
Pocket watch.
Everybody understand? All right, Abdurrahim, you're now the teacher. Your student is Harun, even though he's older than you, but he's your student. You're going to tell him what you heard from your teacher, what I said. Who told you that? Hisham. Hisham told me. And who told Hisham? Muhammad Wahagada. Harun. قال لم يقل عن أنا. أيوه. حدثني هشام قال محمد بن منير is
أنه قال it is 5:59 according to the stopwatch.
stopwatch or pocket watch. See how it gets messed up? That quickly, just like that. You can err, just like that, right? So, Maki, Yazid, Salama ibn al-Aqwa, Bukhari, Nabi. You guys clear on what Isnad is? So, for argument's sake, it's 240 years between my death and his death. Yet still is only 3 people between us. For him now. In which most cases, over 200 years, there should be at least what? 5 or 6, at least. At least. So, Harun, he did what? Well, perfect example, Ibrahim, he started seeking knowledge when? When he was young. And Hisham taught hadith for 50 years. After retirement, he continued to make hadith. Hence, his young age, his old age did what? What did it do? Shorten the gap. Instead of a person being between them or 2 people, here's what? Nobody. Okay. Now, if you had another chain of narration, instead of 3 people between me and the hadith compiler, let's say it was 4 of them, or 5 of them, which is a normal size isnad, that will be nazil. Sanad nazil, was sanad al-ali. So sanad al-ali, the triad or ruba'i, the shorter chain, is only short in what? Comparison. It's only short in what? Comparison. All right, so I need some more volunteers on the stage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All on the stage. Akhi, you as well. Bring your book and your pen. Yalla. Not on this side. Nope, on this side. Now, the hadith compiler is going to stand down from the stage, right? He's standing down from the stage. Just like the hadith compiler is what? Down from the stage. So the Senate in reality is the brothers on the stage. You got to give them the stage. Make a little space. All right. So, Akhi, tell us your name. Abdullahi, he's going to be Imam Muslim. Abdullah is going to be Imam Muslim. His teacher is Geda. Geda's teacher is Abdul Samad. Abdul Samad's teacher is Abdul Rahman. Abdul Rahman's teacher is Amir's teacher is who? Rayyan. Your teacher is me. Alright? So, it's 5:59 according to my pocket watch. You heard it from me, you're sitting in my class, I gave you ijazah al-muhim. That's the report. It's 5:59 according to my pocket watch. You pass it on to your disciple. Who Sheikh Munir told me. I heard Muhammad Munir saying. I saw Muhammad Munir looking at his pocket watch. Sami'tu an-Nabi, ra'aytu an-Nabi, qala li Rasulullah. Right? Fadal. Amir. Hadathani. Rather, we're not even supposed to start this way because the chain of narration is read from the opposite. Hadith compiler. Your name, tell him your name again. Abdullahi Imam Muslim. He's going to say, وَحَدَّثَنَا وأخبرنا. Geda told me. He's a student of Imam Sheikh Geda. He's the muhaddith, he's the student. He's opening up his book, he's writing, he's compiling his musnad, his muwatta, his sahih. And he's going backwards. So give us the chain of narration. Start from Geda up to me. Report it to me. Geda, who said, Abdul Samad told us, or told me, either or, from Abdurrahman, who said, I heard Amir, I met Amir in Kufa and Baghdad at the masjid, we sat down, and we were making tawaf, and he told me that Rayyan said that Muhammad Munir said, it's 5:59 on my pocket watch. So, two chains of narration reporting the same what? Don't say anything, guys. What are they both reporting? The same what? Two isnads reporting the same what? What's the word? Hadith. What's the word we use though? Matan. Two sanads. Sanadani. Matan kya? Wahid. One matan, two hadiths. What's the difference between two chains? Ahaduhuma a'la min al-akhar. A'la bima'na أصغر أقصر أقل عددا. This sanad on the right is the sanad which is called Ali. And this sanad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the sanad Nazil. So if Imam Bukhari had the choice between 3 or 5, he's going to pick the 3. If Imam Muslim had the choice between 3 or 5, he's going to pick the triad. Everyone understand this? You, Akhi, you're going to get to me closer with 3 people instead of 5 people. Only 3 people that we have to investigate versus was Ishad Gida. Sa'id, Hibal, Ta'ib, Kadab. Allahu Akbar, we don't even know your name, let alone how trustworthy you are. Abdurrahman is too young to hear the hadith properly, etc., etc., etc. So me investigating 3 is better and easier than me investigating 5, let alone the author is going to have closeness to be quicker with less people. So that's a sanad thulathi. If there was only one sanad, one matan, it's Ali. But the Nazil and Ali bin nisba, comparatively speaking. And it could be a third sanad with the same hadith, which has 6 men in it. So right now, who are my students on stage? Who are the direct pupils of me? Their names, quickly. Rayyan and Hisham. They're my students. And let's say I have 5 more students who have students. And that's how the hadith spreads out. Who has the shortest chain? Who has the most authentic chain? Wahakada. Hisham not only is my student, but Hisham is my brother-in-law. He's or my son-in-law. He married my daughter, or I married his sister. So not only does he study hadith with me, but we also have a what? Connection. Right? It's my homie, right? Rayyan is only my what? Student. We have a professional relationship. Masjid, Assalamu alaikum, the class is over, peace. But Hisham after the class is what? What were we doing? We're driving home together. We're going to get something to eat. We're going to shoot hoops. We're going to do, you get the point? So the chain not only is shorter, but it's going to be what? Ajwat. Because he has more intimate knowledge of me than someone who just studied with me once or twice. Well, this is very brief, very quick, very simple, but practical and effective on what is an isnad and how does it connect and how do problems come in a hadith. Now, Amir, you sit down. Abdurrahman narrates from Rayyan, but he never met him. He never heard from him. And he doesn't say he told me, because if you say he told you, you didn't, you'd be a liar. But he said, I'm qala. He said. I didn't say he said to me, but I said what? He said, there's a problem. Or for argument's sake, you stand up a mirror. As I'm telling you the time when my stopwatch for this, should go to the bathroom. Go ahead, you choose. He ran out really quick. All right, you come back from the bathroom, you ran back, you come back. What happened? What did I miss? And what happens? No, Rayanne doesn't tell him, somebody in the crowd told him. But do I have to say that a brother in the crowd told me? Why can't I just say, Rayanne, it's my teacher? Why go to the crowd if I can just say my teacher said? But you didn't what? Directly. وهكذا. The conditions of a hadith being sound. What is hadith sahih? What is hadith hasan? What is hadith da'if? And why? The practicality of the science of hadith and how Islam was preserved. واضح إن شاء الله كده بإذن الله تعالى. Alright, خلاص جزاكم الله خيرا. We'll stop here. If there are any questions on the class or random questions with the time that we have, inshallah ta'ala, I would love to entertain them now. Wallahu a'lam. Abdullah.
So, about the sutra, you mentioned how big a sin it is to cut across someone, right? When I went to Medina, Mecca, it was very, very often you would see people just trying to find a passage way out, trying to go somewhere, and they cut through maybe even multiple people in the middle of Salah. Like, I've witnessed multiple times in a single day. So, when it comes to those situations, you mentioned that you can stop them, you can force them, but what happens when it's like flows of people?
Understood. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah doesn't burden you more than you can bear. You try to stop them, they wouldn't listen. I can tell you stories in Medina and Mecca you wouldn't believe. You trying to stop people, people literally cursing at you in the masjid. Literally. You wouldn't believe the amount of ignorance and audacity of so many Muslims on Hajj and Umrah. Totally ignorant and inconsiderate. You're trying to implement the Sunnah, they curse at you. In the Prophet's masjid. There's nothing you can do but try your best. And this is why Bukhari said the Sutra in Mecca wa ghayriha, and that there's no authentic proof. ليس هناك دليل صحيح على تفرقة. Rather, the Prophet ﷺ, from the ignorance of the people, he only said those hadiths about the sutra where? In the Masjid Nabawi, in Medina. So how does Faqih come along and say, in Mecca, Medina, you don't have to have a sutra, a person can cross in front of you? Based on what? In the right, mujarrad, the opinion. It's extremely crowded, that's a different story. Durura, haja. But durura and haja, that's not the default, that's an exception. If it's too crowded, you can pass in front of them. But not, I don't have to respect your salah at all because it's Mecca and Medina. That's a big, huge problem. Understand? Wallahu ta'ala. And of course, you see many things in Mecca and Medina, which will make, the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And that just goes to show you the importance of knowledge. And Allah gives that knowledge to whom He wills. To whom He wills. Don't ever forget that, huh? I remember once, brief story, I was in Toronto, and I did a khutbah, and I spoke on how Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, on the Day of Judgment, Hadith al-Shafa' al-Uthma, Fasl al-Qada, they would go around to the prophets, asking them to ask Allah to commence judgment. They go to Adam, and he says, إِنِّي قَتَلْتُ نَفْسًا لَمْ أُمَرْ بِقَتْلِهَا. And they'll go to this prophet and that prophet, and they'll say, I can't. And Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he will say, it states in narration that he lied how many times? 3 times. إني سقيم وإنها أختي بل فعله هذه كم مرة؟ 3 كلمات وكلها في الله تعالى. نعم. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he lied 3 times. So after the khutbah, I had an older brother, and he happened to be of Arabian ethnicity or ancestry. Maybe he was from Egypt or somewhere. He came up to me with respect, but at the same time, he was a little, bothered and worried. So he said to me, "Ya Sheikh," it's just me and him in the hallway. He said, "Ya Sheikh, with all due respect, you said something in the khutbah, you said that Ibrahim a.s. lied 3 times. He lied for Allah's sake. I think you should retract that. You should take that back." So I said to him, with all due respect, "No, I won't take it back." He then said to me, he said, "Ya Sheikh, Like, I'm from such and such country. He said, I traveled to Mecca, Medina, Kuwait, Qatar. He said, I've been all around the Islamic world, and I've never, ever heard any sheikh say what you said. I said, MashaAllah alayk. Bukhari and Muslim, Kitab Kada, Bab Kada, Hadith Anas, was. He said, Jazakallah khairan, thank you, and he walked off. So what's the chances of him being in all of these countries here, and all of these different sheikhs, and he never heard what some kid from West Philly said? But at the end of the day, the knowledge is what? The knowledge. Just because you're back in Medina or this place, that place, doesn't mean that you're going to have all the knowledge. I would forget that. And that was the lesson that older sheikh got that day. As long as you have the dalil to stand on, it doesn't matter how ignorant the people are. I know why I'm stopping you from walking in front of me. You can get mad, friend, this and that. I'm not a yaqeen. I know what I'm doing and I know why I'm doing it. That's the only thing that you're responsible for, following the messenger. Nobody else. Wallahu ta'ala.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Inshallah, we're going to go back to some of the questions from yesterday.
And no questions on polygamy or polygyny. I've been advised by the brothers that we don't want to entertain no questions on taking on more than one wife. Inshallah. Fadl.
The next question is, can there be less or more than 2 witnesses when you divorce?
Can there be less or more?
Witnesses when
Right. Well, first and foremost, the scholars, they differ on that issue. And inshallah ta'ala, the safest thing to do is to have witnesses, but it's not necessarily mandatory. But for sure, it's recommended. And for obvious reasons. People lie. People make up stuff. Men play around. They play games. I didn't divorce you. I said I was going to divorce you. Or you asked for the khullah, but I never said I granted. They get to the They play games. So when you have the 2 trustworthy witnesses, la yahi, you did divorce her. Now she's going to get remarried to somebody else, right? He's still my wife. She's not your wife. She's not your wife. And the dalil is that you clearly divorced her at this time with the witnesses. So there's a great deal of hikmah and having witnesses. But according to many scholars, it isn't necessarily obligatory. If there are more than 2, that's fine. If they're less than 2, then it isn't fine. You should stick with the number that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. The way I did. It should be 2, inshallah, at least. As far as having more, then obviously you don't want everybody in your business. You don't want 50 million people in your business. Just the necessary amount of people. For then, on this day, divorce his wife, such and such, such and such. Wallahu ta'ala.
The next question says, how's the iddah counted if the woman's period is irregular?
How is the iddah counted if the woman's period is irregular? With months, inshallah. A woman who is of age, she has menstruation, but it's severely irregular. Then she takes the ruling of an older woman who doesn't have menstruation, or a younger woman who doesn't have menstruation. And some scholars, they say no. Rather, she cannot rely upon months. She has to wait based off of the actual menstruation, but that's a clear hardship. So, inshallah ta'ala, with months. Wallahu a'lam.
The next question asks, what is the iddah for a woman after the final divorce?
Question says, what is the iddah of a woman after the final divorce? She can't remarry that man who divorced her twice already. So the wisdom of the 3 menstrual cycles within 3 months in most cases clearly isn't there. There's no reconciliation, there's no probational state. And the only wisdom behind her awakening, having the iddah is istibra' al-rahim. Is to make sure that she isn't pregnant so the genes don't become mixed up. The safest thing to do, wallahu ta'ala alam, is to do the normal iddah. Does she have to wait 3 or can she do just 1? Different story. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
The next question asks, can a woman refuse the husband's tarjih, and would she be sinful for doing so?
Can a woman refuse to accept the opinion that the husband follows? And if so, is she sinful? It depends. If the sister's a student of knowledge and the husband isn't, that's one scenario. If they've sat in front of someone already who's giving them the ruling, that's a different story. It's a very common problem in which there are differences of opinion between the scholars of Islam, hence the woman and the man. The man says the divorce counted, you were on your menstruation. And the woman says it doesn't count. I follow Shaykh Uthaymeen. Obviously, the divorce is in the hand of the man. So he has to say so. And they're going to have to find someone to arbitrate and to judge between them. Wallahu ta'ala, only Allah knows what's reality if you nafs al-amr. But like in Fidhahid, then that's where the qadi comes in. And this is one of the problems of the Western world today in which there is no Islamic judge. There can be a mufti, there can be a sheikh, there can be an imam, but he's not the qadi. So for argument's sake, I don't agree with the imam at the masjid. I don't agree with him. He's inclined towards the brother. He's friends with my husband. Or I don't believe that his opinion is correct. It's mushkila. Wallahu ta'ala, that's in brief.
Two more questions from yesterday. Yesterday, a hadith was mentioned, so 2 days ago, there was a hadith that was mentioned where the Prophet told a man to not marry a woman that could not have children. What does this mean for men and women that can't have children? Also, how can this be reconciled with the fact that most of the wives of the Prophet did not have children?
Jazakallahu khairan. How does this hadith go along with the other hadiths? Most of the Prophet's wives didn't have children, so on and so forth. What does a woman do if she can't have children, etc.? The hadith is clear. Marry a woman that's fertile and loving. That should be your first selection. That should be your first choice. That should be your prime target. Building a family, establishing a family, and making more Muslims in the Ummah. فَإِنِّي مُكَاثِرٌ بِكُمْ وَالْأَنْبِيَاء. That's clear. And just because something is preferred and it's a starting point doesn't mean that there are no exceptional situations. You shouldn't marry a woman that clearly can't have children if you have the option and the ability to marry someone who can. That's clear. The Prophet's wives couldn't have children. He knew that before, or it happened to be that they didn't have children. Which of the two? Did the Prophet marry a woman knowing that she couldn't have children, or it happened to be that way? So it's a difference. So that's a whole different scenario. Last but not least, just if a woman can't have children, or if a man can't have children, doesn't mean that they can't be married. It doesn't mean that they can't be happy. But that isn't what where a person, you say, Sheikh, only get married to sisters. No, you should marry a sister, that's such and such. That's all. She's younger, you can start a family with her, she's been married, so on and so forth. That's all. Doesn't mean you can't get married, you can't have happiness. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Jazakumullahu khairan, we will stop here. It was my pleasure to come again to be your guest. My thanks goes out to Abu Mu'adh. May Allah reward him for reaching out to me, even though it was difficult, me not replying to his messages. Jazakallahu khairan ala sabr. The administration here of the masjid in the center, the imams, the shuyukh, all of the brothers and the sisters, the volunteers, the coordinators, the administrators, everybody who played a role in me coming out here and being your guest and speaking and teaching you. I thank each and every one of you, and hopefully I see you again soon. Jazakumullahu khairan, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.